All right. It is 10:04. Let's get started. So, hello everyone. Welcome to our manufacturing webinar hosted by Smartcat. Today's session is driving business transformation in manufacturing using AI for multilingual content. My name is Andrew McInerney, and I'm a Smartcat account executive, and I'm joined by my colleague Danny James. We're happy to drive the conversation today to be sure that all current and prospective Smartcat users are aware of the resources available to them through the Smartcat platform. We'll be joined in a few minutes by two leaders of a global medical device manufacturer who will share their translation journey and goals for the future. A few housekeeping items to get out of the way. Again, everyone except for our panelists are currently muted, but feel free to submit your questions throughout the session using our Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And if we don't get to them in the moment, we'll have some time reserved at the end to get to them. And I apologize for the background noise. I'm working from home and my cat decided that this was the time to start running around and making noise. So I apologize for that. Coleman, if you want to go to oh, you're already there. So today's agenda will cover some of the drivers of transformation which are being developed from the C-suite to align with the evolution of business goals and results. We will also discuss how AI and new initiatives are being driven from the groundswell of departments and team members. Like our guests from a medical device manufacturing company who prioritize hands-on experience and future thinking in their daily work. We have a lot to cover today. So please, if you have any questions now or later, we're happy to do a one-on-one session with you as well to answer any questions you might have individually or in a small departmental group if that would be preferred to learn together. Just let us know. Next slide, please. All right, perfect. So what we're seeing here is a Gardner survey of the C-suite from May 2024 that reinforces probably what many of us are already feeling in our everyday environment. Financial considerations, whether that's top line growth or being more selective about spend, that's what's top of mind for executives today. You'll see here on the left-hand side of your screen that growth is by far the most important thing to the C-suite today. It's probably not a surprise for anyone, but what is relatively interesting is that we're seeing a significant increase in growth confidence. This is up 25% year over year. We're also seeing here that financial considerations are a primary concern for executives today, up significantly year over year, an emphasis on profitability. And then cost management is up as well. And this is interesting because this isn't necessarily cost cutting. It's more cost vigilance. And I'll pass off to Danny to talk a little bit more about how that applies to learning and development groups today.
Yeah, super excited to share with you guys this report here of the top 5 L&D focuses. I know that you guys can all align with them. And really what we're seeing is that L&D is really aligning. Their number one objective is to align their learning programs to the business goals from the C-suite. And so ultimately being able to tie into growth and financial and efficiency and productivity are huge. And so what we're seeing though is that your guys' time is really limited, and we also see the heart of L&D really coming up from number 9 from last year, really being able to help employees develop in their career. So you have this kind of two ends of the spectrum. You have this real focus on aligning to those business goals, and then the heart of L&D really helping employees develop in their careers and really bringing those two together. We are seeing that the challenge is real though. The speed of change and the speed of just operation is increasing, and so really finding efficiencies is really core right now. And so next slide, Coleman. Right. So what we're seeing because of this focus on gotta align to these growth goals, and we gotta be conscious of our finances. Really, we're seeing this top-down approach with AI, where CIOs, CDOs, CTOs are being called on to really drive some of the value of AI throughout the organization. But simultaneously, because of that squeeze, especially in L&D, we're seeing this kind of groundswell up where people are really starting to just grab onto these tools and begin to see the efficiencies and productivity gains that are necessary. And really what I really want you guys to see in this picture on the left is this is really the state of transformation where we're at currently. It's this top down, bottom up, and we're right in the middle right now where we're seeing this hybrid of legacy products. We're seeing the old ways being combined with this kind of futuristic AI driven work where we're utilizing new practices and tools. And what is the really cool thing is that L&D is really playing a huge role in this. We're seeing L&D drive alignment with the business goals, and we're seeing them really kind of lead out in a lot of the adoption curve for AI, which ultimately tells the story around being able to improve outcomes and move at a much faster pace. Next slide. And so what we want to do from here is we'd love to introduce our customers to you. It's been an incredible journey working with this global medical device manufacturer. I'd really love to introduce you guys to Lily Willer and Corey Brown. They are practitioners. They are coming from a perspective of global customer training and instructional design, so keep that in mind. And I believe that understanding their journey from where they were on the hunt for an AI translation platform to the use cases that they're leveraging now and the teams that will be leveraging in the future will help you guys in your digital transformation journey. So really excited to get this started. Lily and Corey, my first question for you is for you to kind of help us understand what your original challenges were when trying to solve and looking for this AI translation platform. Help us understand that.
I can start. I guess we weren't even necessarily looking for an AI translation platform when we came to Smartcat. It was more that we had this set of challenges where we had a lot of materials that needed to be translated, but we only had a certain budget for it, and traditional translation obviously costs a lot more. And so we went to DevLearn and we met Smartcat at DevLearn and learned about it. And for us, we were just like, wow, this is something that could solve this problem, and we can make our resources go further. We're able to provide more translations with the same budget.
Yeah.
Corey, you haven't. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Thanks for the introduction, Danny. Yeah, what you said earlier. It's not so much necessarily about cost cutting, but about cost vigilance. That was very well said. Our budget, may fluctuate a little bit here and there, but staying steady from year to year, we're just trying to find ways to make our dollar go further. We've got more content that we're developing every year. We want to make it available to global audiences. So we need to stretch that money out, and bringing Smartcat on board was a way to do that.
Awesome. And you guys are a bit unique in that you really are kind of in that middle ground, right? Where you're still using some legacy and you're also adopted AI. But will you help us understand how AI translation fits into your guys' current workflows?
I would say that as far as the AI translation, we use it mostly with our smaller projects and the ones that we want a quick turnaround for. Because, as opposed to submitting a quote to a traditional vendor and then waiting a couple weeks and going back and forth, I love, my favorite part about Smartcat is that you can just upload the file, and as soon as someone's available to review it, it's done. So that's my perspective on the projects. I don't know if Corey, you want to add to that?
No, yeah, I think we see that sort of balance continuing into the future, as far as we're going to continue to use a traditional vendor for sort of bigger projects that involve more project management that we, Lily and I might not want to tackle ourselves, but then smaller projects, we'd like to upload those to Smartcat, get them translated quickly. They're actually ready to go basically like as soon as they're uploaded. The only slowdown for making them available really is getting them reviewed by our own internal resources, our subject matter experts. So yeah, the speed is a huge benefit, but like you said, there is a balance for traditional versus AI based, and we like having both options available to us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Love hearing that. Would you guys kind of talk to what like this increase in speed or this efficiency, like what is that gaining you guys on your teams and in your day-to-day? Help us understand what that looks like. I'm hearing this efficiency in time and speed. Help us understand how that's helping you in your day-to-day.
Yeah.
Corey, do you want to start? I started the
Sure,
last couple, so
sure,
I'll let you.
sure. Yeah. One thing, obviously the fact that we can upload something and basically it's translated almost instantly is a huge benefit. Um, I think we wanted to find a platform that would allow our reviewers. So we have a team of global reviewers who are reviewing the content in every language. It's pretty technical in many instances, so we want to make sure that somebody who's familiar with the sort of technical speak is validating the language. But we wanted to find a platform that was easy for them to sort of get in there, use kind of like an editor that's easy to just kind of like type changes in if they have them, and it's done. They can move on with their daily job, because we're sort of taking them away from their everyday tasks to do our translation validation. So a platform that was comfortable for them to use, but that also generated quality results the first time, so that they're not getting a translation that they have to retranslate. And so far we're getting great feedback from our regional reviewers in that regard.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that too, the ease of use for them. We love the glossary feature because, like Corey said, we have all these very, very specific technical terms, and sometimes they get translated wrong, using other methods. Like if you used Google Translate, it would not be able to handle it. But being able to put a very detailed Smartcat glossary together, it just makes everything so much more efficient.
Awesome. Awesome. Will you guys help us understand what groups are currently working within the SmartCat platform? And can you highlight some of the use cases that you feel have had significant impact?
Well, obviously technical training, L&D. We have a lot of interest within the marketing departments within our company, as well, because they obviously have to translate everything into local language. There's even, different types of customer publications that are now getting interested because they just have a high volume of, kind of smaller documents all the time that need to be translated. And currently they're going to, either exporting into a Word doc and then having that translated and putting it back into the final format. And they're very attracted to the idea, like Corey was saying earlier, you upload the document and it's ready as soon as it's uploaded, essentially. Did I miss any departments, Corey?
No, I mean, it started with our L&D organization, and that's really, Lily and I focus on a lot on customer training together, so customer facing training. But we have technical audiences internally that we develop training for. Our sales training organization is getting involved as well. So, and then within those sort of groups, there's all sorts of different training that could be translated through SmartCat, whether it's PowerPoint training decks, it's job aids that are developed in InDesign or Word, e-learning courses that are developed in like Articulate Rise or Storyline. We've tried all of those, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
awesome.
surprised if just more departments get involved, because when people hear about it, they're like, oh, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk about that. There's been some organic kind of growth and curiosity that's been taking place. Like, I'd love to kind of hone in on the idea of what's going on with the Brazil team right now, right? Like, so this was kind of led out by a linguist that was in there doing in-country reviews and kind of caught wind of our platform. Will you talk through kind of some of the conversations that you had on the backside and ultimately how that kind of came to fruition? Because that was a awesome referral of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the linguist from Latam, she had been reviewing some of our content, and like Corey said, they were finding, the quality is very good. It was easy to use. They could get in there, just hit the link, go and review. So she talked to the marketing team because, within certain regions, people may not have one role. Like my role is global customer training. Within regions, they may have a hand in training and marketing and sales. So she was aware of it because of that, and she came to the marketing team, and they were just gushing about how they want this tool. So, so they reached out to me, and I gave them a little demo, and then obviously they met with you, and I was just really happy to pass them off to you because, like, first off, the customer care we've received has been excellent. You guys are always there for us. So, we appreciate that we can recommend them a tool that will improve their workflow. And also just we know that they have support as well.
Awesome. And then something even like kind of greater happened. There was like a leader in that first meeting with that team in LATAM, and he kind of caught vision for it, and you kind of helped me understand that he's been kind of a proponent, and I don't even talk to him on a regular basis. Will you talk through some of the dynamics of that and kind of what he's shouting from the rooftops right now?
Yeah, so for him, it's less about, like the total amount of money. A lot of times we think about AI like, oh, it's just gonna be cheaper. But for him, the biggest thing, love things that are cheaper, but the biggest thing is the efficiency because his team spends a lot of time doing what I said with the kind of manual process of taking something, either sending to someone and then having to reformat or translating themselves and then uploading it. So he was very excited for the fact that his team would be freed up to work on other things if the translation part wasn't a big problem. And he's actually, he went to a global marketing meeting and he told everyone on the call that they all need to investigate Smartcat. So we have a lot of other groups that are also interested now because of that.
Yeah, it's been incredible to watch. We are a product-led growth company, and so this is very normal for us to see, but it's lovely when it actually comes to fruition. For those that are on the call, will you help them understand what groups do you think would benefit most from SmartCat who aren't already in your organization, and then just kind of helping them think through like who we can actually impact?
Corey, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, I guess beyond the groups that we've already talked about, an L&D organization, marketing organizations, regional organizations that are, maybe trying to do a lot of work with smaller teams. All of those would benefit, but really anybody that's responsible for creating documents, documentation, training, promotional materials in a number of languages, I can see anybody having a use case for this platform, really.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I really would love to hear from you guys. Really like kind of talk through some of the maybe differences in kind of the legacy product and us, and maybe some of the kind of just roadblocks, even mentally, that you guys had to work through in utilizing a piece of technology versus kind of just throwing something over the fence and it kind of, being taken care of. Will you walk us through kind of what that looked like for you guys? I think some people think AI and it's still a little mysterious for them. Like our platform is designed to be really easy. So I would love for you to hear to speak to that.
I mean, I think it is very, sorry, Corey, did you want to go?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, as you said, I think it's very easy. Like there's nothing in it that's difficult or like you think about AI and interacting with AI, all the AI is happening in the background, and especially working with you guys to set up templates. It was just so nice to have everything kind of laid out in the system so that you know exactly how it's going to translate every time. Um, I mean, the difference is I feel like traditional versus Smartcat, they're just completely different in terms of how you're interacting with them. And I love for a huge project, I love a traditional translation vendor so I don't have to manage all of, making sure things are moving forward because they do a lot of that kind of project management. But I love Smartcat for anything, that's on the smaller scale. Like it's absolutely amazing. Or even large projects through Smartcat. Like a PowerPoint document. We put an enormous, extremely long PowerPoint document through Smartcat, and the formatting is so easy. Like it's just incredibly easy. So I think we also pick and choose depending on, the formats that we know work so well, like Articulate Rise, amazing. So any L&D departments using Rise, just an incredible option there.
Yeah.
Do you want to add, Corey?
Yeah, no, just to echo that, Rise has been a huge benefit to run through Smartcat. I mean, it's literally like you get the translated version back, you import it into Rise, and it's basically done.
Yeah.
which is, without having to do a bunch of reformatting or things like that. It's huge. Smartcat was great with onboarding too. I'll say there, um, I wouldn't say we had big concerns, but we had a lot of questions coming in, like around formatting and which types of documents would be best translating through the tool. And your team was really great about working with us on through that trial period, figuring that out, answering all the questions we had, and we had a lot of them. So you were super responsive about that, which we really appreciated. It made us feel comfortable when we were establishing that relationship. And now, yeah, it's an ongoing learning process for us, figuring out which types of projects we'll use our traditional vendor for, which types we'll send through SmartCat, what that balance is. But what we're finding so far is that we're accomplishing more with the same amount of money, which is great. I mean, that helps us, Lily and I guess you could say selfishly, it helps us look better within our organization. We feel like we're doing our job better. We feel like we're accomplishing more. We feel like we're representing our sort of global L&D organization, and the regions are seeing, hey, they're sending us more. They're making more available to us more quickly, that's great. It's a huge win.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna take you guys back to kind of when you first started talking to us. Lily, you entered into like a bit of a trial with us. Like, how did that go? Jumping in there, and was that helpful for you to just be able to get into the system and try it out on your own before? Will you talk through some of that and what your experience was as you were walking through that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it gave us so much more confidence going into it, because I think a lot of times, like when people think of AI, they think about the times that ChatGPT has given them some really weird answer, but this form of AI, I think when I first talked to the people at DevLearn, I was like, well, that sounds interesting, but I don't totally believe it'll work. And then we got in there, we did the trial. We're like, okay, this is good. This is working. You guys helped us figure out templates and, make sure that everything was set right. And then it started just kind of like churning along and things are working well. So I think the trial just gave us that confidence to be like, yes, this is going to work and fit into our workflow.
Awesome. And then if you don't mind bouncing off of that, just kind of again in the weeds, I think some of the natural reservation that we see with global manufacturing companies in general is this kind of, hey, we have a lot of like specific words that are very medical device focused. And in your situation, will you help us understand how valuable you find things like the glossary, the translation memory, and really being able to leverage those to make sure that those words are translating properly?
Yeah.
Right, do you wanna-
Sure. Yep. Yeah, with us, it's sort of a mix of words that we don't want to translate at all that will remain in English across all languages, and making sure that those are established and not getting, translated in that first pass, or things that we want to be translated a specific way that, maybe if you plug something into Google Translate, it wouldn't translate the way we speak about it, I guess. So yeah, using the glossary in both of those instances is a huge help. It's also, we can, Lily and I could add terms to the glossary on our side, but it also allows, the SmartCat platform also allows our linguists to add terms as they're reviewing. So if they see specific things that they find themselves, changing multiple times, just the way we refer to those terms, they can, upload them right into the glossary from their review tool themselves. So that's a huge benefit as well.
I think
Awesome.
one of my other favorite features besides like the glossary is when you go in and you change, if you have a specific term and you change it, it can cascade down through the document, which like with a traditional translation vendor, if you're just sent an Excel sheet and asked to review, you'd have to change it every instance where there was an issue. And that's something, especially like the teams, the marketing teams, for instance, were asking about, they don't like having to correct every instance. So that was really nice as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's relatable in a lot of ways. The redundance, again, we're going back to proficiencies here in 2025 for sure. I'm going to go to the Q&A section. There's one addressed to you guys. Says Lily, Corey, how do you set the option that the editing is done so quickly? What steps do you take to make the process more efficient? Maybe you can just talk about workflow in general, Lily and Corey, and help them kind of understand how you guys have set it up and how it's really just like you put the file in and it does its thing.
Yeah, yeah. I can start. That pretty much describes it. So our personal workflow for our company, for the most part, like the way our template is set up is sort of two steps. So there's like the original translation. You upload a document. The content is translated by the Smartcat platform, and it produces, a translated version of whatever you uploaded. Then the second step for us is we have a regional subject matter expert who will go into the platform. We invite them from the platform through an email, or once they're on the team, we just basically select them from the team, and they get a request to go in and edit the project. So they will go into a sort of a WYSIWYG editor and just compare original English to translated content side by side, make any corrections that they have, and then accept, basically like give a green check mark to accept every piece of text content in the document. Once they've signed off, it comes back to us, and we basically just export the translated version, pull it into the original source material, whether it's an InDesign file or Articulate Rise, like we mentioned, whatever. And then we just take a look at the final format. If it looks good, then we're basically done.
Yeah.
I don't know if hopefully that's helpful. That's kind of our specific workflow.
And I will say that we use these in-country reviewers because just for our process, we need them to be the final say. But there is the marketplace, which I'm sure you've heard of, which seems like a great option. We have so much very technical language, we just choose to go with our own reviewers. But there are other ways to speed things up that way as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Another one coming at us, and I can help kind of answer this, but I think your answer is going to be good too. For the automatic translation, what engine do you use? And do you use one of the machine translation engines, or do you use the open AI option? Have you tested this? So, yeah, I'll let you guys answer if you have an answer, and then I can explain.
I think we have OpenAI, right, Corey?
I think so.
I can't
Yes.
remember. We set up the template once and we don't look back at it.
Well, this was one of the things that we had to work through in our initial pilot, I think, working with Smartcat to figure out what was going to produce the best results for us and carry through like the formatting accurately. And once we settled on that, then we made sure that it was built into our templates, so it was something we didn't have to think about going forward. So that's why it's not fresh in our memory anymore.
I love the question. I think it's super valid, and I just want you to feel heard on it. The reality is that we have many different large language models, and according to what language you're translating into, we can really fine tune that. And so it really does kind of become kind of a feedback mechanism for us, and we hear what our customers are saying, and we're able to make adjustments to the platform and the AI on the fly for our customers. So yeah, that was the case for Corey and Lily. A little bit of feedback on specific languages, we were able to make the tweak, and the quality increases drastically as we go. We do have another question here. I'll get to that one after. I do want you guys to just kind of speak to the audience around maybe some encouragement on somebody that's looking into this technology. Like, how do they press in? Where do they get started? And ultimately, what would that look like for somebody that's kind of coming in with just a fresh idea right now?
I mean, I would just reach out like we did. We were like, okay, this looks like an option. Let's try it out. So I would recommend just reaching out to you and having that conversation because the team is very, very helpful, very responsive. And if you have concerns, they should be able to answer that question and just explain like, okay, in other situations we've done X, and that has worked. And they're just great to work with. So I would just reach out, have a conversation, and do the test. If you're real serious about it, test it out and you'll find out that it does work really well and you'll probably love it and not want to get rid of your trial. So you'll move forward.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love it. Do you have any specific recommendations for other teams or organizations considering a move from kind of the traditional model to an in-house AI? Like, help them understand kind of some of the differences and how you guys have been able to kind of hone in on the differences.
Um, well, I mean, like we've said, we even ourselves, we haven't moved from one to the other. We've adopted both and found a way to make both work for our workflow, our budget, and we're just kind of continuing to do that. I think it's a matter of like running multiple types of projects through both systems or both ways of doing things and seeing what works best for us. We're finding good fits for certain type of projects with Smartcat, good fits with traditional, and our answers might be different than some of the other people who are attending today. They might find different fits based on the type of content they're creating, the tools they're using, what have you. So I think it's just a matter of, like Lily said, giving it a try, talking to Smartcat, getting a trial, seeing how it works, envisioning what would work for you, and going from there. But we ask a lot.
Awesome.
We asked a lot of questions. Like I said, we asked a lot of questions up front. We tried a lot of things so that we made sure that we were feeling comfortable. So the Smartcat team was great through that whole process. So if they had the patience to put up with us, then they should have the patience to put up with you guys as well.
Those questions are still coming and we love them. So yes, thank you for asking all of the questions. All right, let's check the Q&A here. Looks like we got a few more. Okay. Let's see. Further to what you spoke, if the reviewer is not available, do you search for another reviewer or do you use the option to send the task to a few linguists at the same time and then automatically assign to whoever accepts the first task? I can speak to this one. You guys don't use Marketplace too much. Yeah, definitely. So we have flexibility here, right? If there is a reviewer that's not available, then you can set it up to where you actually pick three and the first one to pick gets the job, or you can kind of have it set as a cascading, right? Like, I really want this guy, but if he's not available, then the next one would be kind of the person that goes. And then yeah, simultaneously we have very large scale projects that like we want to get done within 3 days. We can spread that across multiple different linguists, utilizing the same TM or translation memory. Sorry, I saw some feedback on my acronyms. The translation memory would be come into play on that. So we would have a similar tone, brand, feel to it as well. But we can split that load across many different reviewers within the marketplace. So yes, hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Yeah. Well, you take care, Nicole. It's good to see you. And okay, we got another question here. Lily and Corey, how do you keep consistency with the hybrid approach? Do you export translation memory and send them to your traditional agency? Oh yeah, it's a great question.
We
I
haven't
think
done
I
that.
understand why. Go ahead.
No, just we haven't done that. That might be a good idea, but we haven't done it yet.
No, we haven't. I mean, I think our consistency, we rely on consistency coming from our reviewers, who are reviewing, the translated content across both platforms. But yeah, that would be something for us to explore.
One thing to
Definitely.
highlight
And
to piggybacking off that, sorry, Danny. One quick thing is that every use case is a little bit different. I have definitely seen clients do that before, especially when you're working with a network of agencies or linguists, larger companies that have numerous resources that they work with. So that is a scenario that is fairly common, and we'd be happy to explore that further with you offline if that's something that's of interest.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, yep, we got some more here. Great. Keep them coming, Mikal. I really appreciate them. Wondering who pays for the marketplace reviewers and how is the payment done? Gabriella, excellent question. Because Lily and Corey don't use our marketplace, I will take that one. Actually, Andy, do you want to take that one? I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, sure, of course. So the marketplace is typically set up so that the team that is leveraging those resources pays for them. So our marketplace of linguists is Smartcat does not add any markup. So the linguists set their own rates and you choose linguists based on a number of different factors, whether that's their experience or background, subject matter expertise, whether they're a native speaker, their reviews. You can see a full profile of the linguist, all of the comments on past work that they've done, their availability. You can communicate with them directly, which is a major difference from working with a translation agency where they're always kind of the men and women behind the curtain. And in terms of how payment is structured, you pay through Smartcat, and then we would pay each of the linguists. It would become very cumbersome for you if you had, a dozen linguists or, a project with 15 languages and you have to pay out each individual linguist. That's a lot of work and we don't want to put that on you. So the payment comes through Smartcat, but it would be whoever assigns the work to that linguist.
Thanks, Andy. What content do you outsource to agencies and what do you do with your internal reviewers? I think that we might need some elaboration on that, Mikal. If you could tie it to where it came from or where it's stimulated from. But if you guys do want to take that, if you have an answer to it, we can go ahead and step into that.
Is the question whether what we send to traditional translation vendors versus Smartcat?
Let's wait for him to answer. Or her.
That was my reading of it. That's how I understood it for sure.
Okay. I mean, we could speak to that.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
I mean, I would say anything that is like a very large InDesign document with many, many pages that has a lot of like text boxes and diagrams, we tend to send that to the traditional translation vendor just because we just are like, okay, they'll take care of it. Any reformatting needs to be done. I do know Marketplace does some reformatting. We just haven't tried it yet. So, that's something we might experiment with in the future as far as doing those larger InDesign documents and maybe using Marketplace for that. But so far, that's just what we've done. And like Corey said, Rise videos, so like SRT files, PowerPoints, Word documents, all of those things, just there's no formatting issue whatsoever. So, those are easy choices to use with Smartcat.
Another one that we still use traditional for are like just larger scope projects with a lot of moving parts. So if it's like a large training program that has, let's say 5 storyline courses and several videos, all of which have, SRTs associated with them, and then downloadable job aids. And, there's just a lot of moving parts. It's worth it for Lily and I sort of to offload the project management aspect of that to someone else and pay a little more for that. So that would be something else that we would probably not send through the Smartcat platform, but those are the kinds of choices we're making on a sort of a project by project basis and finding what works best for us and how to make our money stretch further.
And I think
Awesome.
it just comes down to that every decision. Oh, I was going to say every decision I think we make is based on what makes Corey and my lives easier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Hey, Andy, maybe you could chime in here and talk about some of the kind of, I don't want to say misconception, it's a strong word, but like, can you help people that are listening understand how we actually can do everything that an agency can do and still save people money? I just think a lot of our customers don't fully know how to achieve that. So if you don't mind talking about our marketplace delivery and how we not only can we do everything that the agency can do, but we can do it cheaper.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was just about to jump in. So I think it's worth noting that while we do have customers that choose to selectively send certain types of content to a translation agency and other types of content to Smartcat, we do, as Danny said, have the capability to handle any type of content or any volume of content just as a translation agency would. We have what's called a marketplace delivery team that effectively operate not quite the same, but very similarly to what you would see with a PM at a translation agency. So they can kind of take the ball and run with it in terms of, you give them the specifications for a project. They can handle even the quoting of it if it's something a large scale project where we will incorporate a lot of different linguists from the marketplace. You give them a profile linguist that you're looking for. We will go out and source those people. We can facilitate really the end-to-end translation process. So it doesn't need to be a super manual process for you, even when projects are much larger scale. We do have the capability and the resources to take that burden off of you and facilitate that project from end to end.
I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah, definitely, Lily. We have some exploration to do for sure.
I got you, Lily. All right, perfect. It looks like we have continued questions coming, so super excited to see these. Mikhail, yeah, I really appreciate the shout out for InDesign. I think that those IDML files are something that people kind of maybe there's a little bit more struggle with, and so yeah, we absolutely can help with that. And we're really excited for our customers that trust us in that area. And then can you please elaborate more about AI options in the translation process? What other features does Smartcat offer? Andy, you want to take that one?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I was on mute. So in terms of, can you elaborate on more AI options in the translation process? Are you speaking about like the AI engines that we have specifically? Is that what you're hoping to explore?
Let's assume so.
Okay. So there's 9 different AI engines that Smartcat uses. Actually, what might make more sense would be for me to send you this list following the call. I'm actually just pulling it up. I didn't have the full list right in front of me. Give me one moment here.
Also about efficient workflow processes. Okay. Mikhail, what might make sense is to set up a one-on-one with us to kind of dive into some of these questions. I think that would be really helpful for you while he's looking that up.
Yep, and I have the engines here. So Google Statistical Translation Engine, Google Neural Translation Engine, Microsoft Translator, Yandex, Baidu, DeepL, Amazon Translate, Modern MT, Open GPT, GPT-4, OpenAI. Those are, I believe, all 9. I think that's right. Yep. But we can send you this list after the call. And I do think, given some of your questions, I think it would make sense for us to set up a one-on-one session following the webinar.
Definitely. Andy, while you have the mic, I want Teresa to feel heard. I don't know why we've been waiting so long to answer this, so my apologies. She would like to know more about protection of data and documents from third parties. Can you speak to that a
Yes.
little bit? And we would love to set up some time with you as well, Teresa. It's a great question.
Yes, Teresa, there's a reason we waited on your question. This is the question that usually leads to more questions, which is why I think that we should schedule some time to discuss further. What I can tell you at a high level is that Smartcat is a highly secure platform. Data security and protection of our clients' confidential information is absolutely paramount. We work with banks, government institutions, like the US Army. A lot of the content that we handle is very sensitive, both from a standpoint of confidential information, but also, on the marketing side, we're often working on, marketing campaigns for products that haven't even been released yet, where, it's a very, we're trying to make sure that information does not get out to the public that shouldn't at that time. So that is a very important piece of the puzzle here. I would say that the vast majority of our clients would not work with us if that was not the case. And I'd be happy to send over any documentation that you require. It might make sense for us to schedule a call with our solutions team that have a little bit more technical expertise in terms of how we protect our clients' data. And then we can get you any information you need following that.
Awesome. Okay, a few more questions here. We're coming down to time, and this is going back a little bit, but you guys mentioned smaller projects, and ultimately that they are completed quickly now. And what we'd really like to understand is who would have handled these previously, or are they things that would not have been translated in the past?
Think kind of a mix. Some things that maybe wouldn't have been translated, but now because we have SmartCat, it's easy to be like, okay, we've got this new document. Do you want it? We'll get it translated, and we can have that done, as soon as the reviewer is available. Otherwise, the traditional translation vendor would have handled it, and then it would have gone into our factors that we're making around. We have this much budget, and we need to decide what projects get prioritized.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So there's this kind of broader question around larger companies and working cross-functionally or cross divisions. Think like broad picture, L&D, sales, frontline manufacturing, field services, all of the above. Um, would you share some best practices for kind of content management with AI tools like SmartCat? How are you managing those projects and kind of help us understand how all of the different departments are working together?
Corey, I feel like maybe you have a little bit more experience in this because I'm closer to just the customer.
Content management. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we have our own sort of internal system for content management. Maybe can you just elaborate a little more on the question, Danny? I'm not quite sure how to answer it.
Yeah, I may have to wait for the question asker
Okay.
here, but really I think it's this idea of kind of um pulling back the lens a bit and really kind of seeing how this works across different departments. Like, so you get the request, and ultimately, how does that work within SmartCat from these different departments in an organization? I'm trying to figure out how to best
Yeah,
ask the question, but
yeah. I
I
mean,
think you maybe get it.
I can only speak to our specific use case.
Sure.
But the platform facilitates a lot of the communication, I guess I would say. Um, as far as like we would work with departments to identify who the reviewers will be, um, in the different regions, but then inviting them to the project, them validating the work, us, considering the project complete, downloading the resulting files. All of that is handled right through the platform, communication wise, and passing of content wise. So, um,
Awesome.
yeah, it's all sort of in platform, I guess. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does. I think that's what they were going for. All right. Let's bring this on. Last question, and really, I think if you guys could just kind of summarize with this, what would you say is the biggest benefit of using SmartCat now?
Hmm.
Um, I think, well, I think speed is something that I like. I think one of my favorite things is the glossary because we have so much control over exactly how that glossary is built. Corey, what were you gonna say?
Um, I would just I've said it before, but I think just being able to make our dollar go further.
Yeah.
Just the feeling of knowing that we're getting more work through the system more quickly is yeah, it's just like I said before, it's a big win for us.
Yeah. And that was a conversation we were having at DevLearn last year, was just how we felt a little hand tied as far as what we could provide. The different regions, they want translations and they're hungry for content. And just working, with things costing that much to send to a traditional translation vendor, we're just so happy to, like Corey said, make the money go further.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's all for us,
Awesome.
it's all about our customers, too. So like being able to get translated content to customers in those regions more quickly, that's our ultimate goal. So yeah, this is helping us accomplish that.
Kind of ties back into the strategic kind of C-suite initiatives too, is growth. Like, you guys have been able to grow your offering
Mhm.
by simply partnering with us and doing more with the same budget. And I think that is a common story amongst our customers. And so ultimately, yeah, really excited. I just want to thank you guys. I'm super grateful for you guys as my customer actually, and I just look forward to working with you. I think we have areas to explore already together from this conversation, which is awesome. And yeah, just really grateful. Thank you for your time. And I don't see any additional questions, so. Oh, maybe there is one more. I use more. Okay, nope. That was just a thank you. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
hand over to Andy, and then yeah, we'll finish up here.
I think
Thank
Coleman,
you.
if you could go back one slide. Yeah, here we go. So just a couple things to wrap up with. We've talked a little bit about the advantages of using a platform like Smartcat today. The speed has been a really common thread here. That's the benefit that Corey and Lily have focused on and has impacted their business the most. But accuracy and cost reduction also factor into this as well. I want to note that these are not numbers specific to Lily and Corey's use case. This is more broad, looking at the UK across 500 enterprise accounts at Smartcat. So on average, we see about 78% cost reduction when moving over from a translation agency, a legacy agency. Accuracy typically is in the region of about 90 to 95%. So you can count on AI to produce high quality results, and those results only get better when we use glossaries or style guides or brand guides like Lily and Corey had touched on before. And as well as, that we expect that quality and the amount of edits the quality to increase, the amount of edits to decrease as you continue to translate more and more content via Smartcat. And then lastly, typically we see 25x improvement in turnaround time. So that's something that I think our clients, and especially in Lily and Corey's case, that's something you feel right away when you start using Smartcat, is the amount of time that you have to dedicate to translation projects and the amount of overhead that is required for those projects immediately is reduced.
Awesome. Well, hey, we just want to say that if we stimulated any thoughts for you guys, if you have any additional questions, you'd like to see a full demo, we have a roadmap as well. If you guys have any kind of additional questions, please schedule some one-on-one time with us. We'd love to meet with you, and we'd love to serve your businesses. So thank you for your guys' time today. This does conclude our webinar, and we just want to thank you all for being here. And thanks again, Corey and Lily.
Our pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Andy.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
everyone. Have a lovely day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.